yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's time, baby. What is going on? It's your boy, President Fat Samurai Guy, hanging out with a legend over here. That's right. Former WWE pro wrestler, actor, filmmaker, director, Leroy, not Leroy Jenkins, not Bruce Leroy, Leroy Kincaide. Welcome to the Movie Dojo podcast, brother.
Whoop. Yep. Thank you kindly for having me, mate. Much appreciated. Your little sting thing was getting me pumped, man. I was like, oh, mate, I like that. I didn't expect to see that. That was nice. It was nice.
Yeah, man. Gotta get everybody watching pumped, get the guests pumped, and me get pumped too, because this is what I love doing. I love talking movies. And I have a legend here. And thanks again for hanging out today, man. I know you got a crazy busy schedule out there in the UK. Did I say it right? Schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Schedule, however you want to say it. Potato, isn't it? However you want it.
Yeah. We got another UK alumni here from the entertainment headquarters. We got Kevin here saying hello, Fat Samurai Guy, and special guest Leroy. What's going on, Kevin? Good to see you, man. Thanks again for watching, hanging out with us today. And man, thanks again for being here. And before we even get to the movies, before we even do the deep dive in the filmography, and we're going to lead up to Ascendants, we're going to lead up to that. I'm sure the trailer to that. Brother, how did you get involved with pro wrestling, my friend?
Oh, mate, that was like one of my my childhood dreams. At one point in time, I was like, wrestling was all I wanted to do. I was very lucky in certain respects. So I got a lot of opportunities to work alongside some really good people at a time where social media wasn't really that big. So like I stepped away from wrestling in 2012, but I had about 10 years of a nice, good run before that. I got trained by some really good people. I was fortunate to train in the States for a little bit.
Yeah.
Trained down in Atlanta with a guy called Chris Benoit. Done a bit of training with him, a bit of training with a guy called William Regal. So there was a couple of good pedigreed names of training experience that I got quite early on. And yeah, I just got bit by the bug, man. Like,
yeah,
wrestling's one of those things. You either get it or you don't. And
right.
And I just was like, oh, that's all I wanted to do, you know.
Nice. How was it training under William Regal? Love
really
that guy.
good.
Yeah,
really intense. I did it twice. I went out for two 1 week stints out in Atlanta, and for a whole week we was with William Regal twice, and a guy called Brian Danielson, who used to be
huge star now.
Yeah. So he, like all these guys, like training with them for like a solid week. It was very intense. Because the thing is like in the UK, there's a lot of training schools now, but back then there wasn't loads and loads of schools about. Like wrestling was more undergroundish. It was slowly getting up there, but in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, it started getting a bit more popular and a bit more mainstream. And then by the end of the 2000 into the 10s, it was just it was just fever pitch. It was getting really big.
Yeah, Regal is one of those that I've heard where he's very technical when he wrestles, but he could go like in real life, like he could don't mess with him in real life. Like he's he'll give you some stiff shots. Like he could go. He's one of those. Like he's trying to mess with him in real life. Yeah,
he was renowned for that, and I think like that's one of the things that like the old school training that we used to get in the UK. I guess again, it does depend on where you are, where you get trained. But one of the things that we was trained and it was ingrained in us was actually shoot style wrestling, which is more like if somebody tries to take a liberty with you in a match, the idea was actually like, well, you've got the pro side and then you've got the shoot side. And our trainer back in the early days wanted us to be very much like, if somebody takes a liberty, you're going to be able to destroy them in a real sort of setting. Obviously, that doesn't ever happen, but if it does happen, you have the ability to know your way out of stuff. And I think being technically minded, that's quite important, especially in the game of wrestling.
Copy that. I'm sure you're aware of the legendary match between William Regal and Bill Goldberg in WCW. Did you ever see that and hear about that one?
Yeah, it's sort of one of those
You
matches.
kind of exposed him a little bit there, like,
A little
yeah.
bit. I think there was a lot of it, like, because if you think of it, like at the time, I think Goldberg was one of the hottest, if not the
Oh,
hottest star in the game at that time. And I
yeah,
think it was a bit like, with respect to Regal, obviously he's a very technical guy. And
right.
obviously he was in a match with somebody that unfortunately probably caliber wise for the wrestling aspect, not the
Right.
showman side, but the wrestling side of it was, he was obviously outclassing him massively. But
Yeah.
and it does look a bit like, yeah,
Yeah.
Regal wasn't happy that night for sure.
Well, I'm pretty sure Goldberg more wasn't happy either. But yeah, that was a crazy match, man. Do you have a favorite match that you were in, whether it's indie scene or WWE? Do you have a favorite match?
That I was in.
Yeah,
Um,
like you remember, you were like, that was a great match. That was your favorite. Do you have one?
oh, I could probably not. I don't think like an actual match, but I can remember the time when wrestling just become fun.
Hmm.
Because I think, yeah, I would say there was just a period where it was just fun, and I think at the time when it was that, there was like I did a tour in the south of France for a company called NWE. They used to get a lot of wrestlers from like abroad. They'd get like who would they get? They actually got the Ultimate Warrior once for some
Oh
big
wow.
shows out in Europe.
Okay.
They'd get
Yeah.
people like that. Orlando Jordan. They got who else did they get? They had a load of like, it's a long time ago. They had a load of names, but I remember being on this card, and part of the magic of trying to go out and have a match, you've got two different sides of it. You've got the showman side of it, and then you've got the competitive side of it. And I just remember the first time that like the competitive side eased off and I started to enjoy the show side of it,
Nice. Right.
realizing that, your presence in the ring doesn't just need you to just run around and throw loads of moves. Actually, you could take the time between spots and do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took a while to get to that point of like realizing that, you know what, actually you can have fun with it.
Yeah.
Because I think like I'm just somebody who's naturally like, I'm just a highly competitive person. So I'm very focused on stuff. And that, if you watched any of my matches, they're very much like, they're quite intense. But with that intensity, it was also like being like a little bit of a ball in a china shop. I had to sort of harness that power a little bit in my earlier days.
Right.
And then when
Right.
that started to happen and I just got it, I was like, right, now we're having
Yeah.
fun.
Copy that, man. That's supposed to be what it's all about anyway. Is
Yeah.
being a great performer and making the matches, you know, seem like a contest. That's the big argument today for today's wrestling. Is you have not everyone, but you have the guys from the old school kind of critiquing the new school, today's wrestlers, the young bucks of today, that it's all just spots. That's all it is flip here, go here, go here, go here. And there's no storytelling within the match, or they don't make it look like a real like contest. What do you think about that?
Well, the problem is you've got an era of movement which has changed. Like
Right.
if you go back into the old school style of things, and again, this was part of that journey where I didn't get it. I was very much like, yeah, it's got to be spots. Yeah, do this move, that move, flip
Right.
off here, do this, do that. But you start to realize that it's about the pacing is really important. It's very similar to like storytelling when you write a script or something. Pacing is very, very important.
Right.
And I
Right.
think in wrestling, what happens is you've got a move fest versus telling a story. And I think the key is remembering that what gets you enthralled into the matches themselves, it is the storytelling that goes in. We all remember like the key moments where like, Jake the Snake in the snake pit, had these little moments with people there, and then he got smacked in the head with the honky tonk man and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That storytelling stuff is really important to building up hype to show. So when it comes to matches, if a match doesn't if a match doesn't give you something to sort of engage with, it does become, unfortunately, like just a move fest. And I think it's about a fine line. I don't really watch a lot of wrestling now, to be fair. I haven't watched it in quite a while, but I do remember there was definitely like two types of styles. There was the one which was very much like lots of moves, lots of high spots, lots of that. And then you had your strong style, like which was a bit more smash mouth, like, you know,
Yeah.
if you stick a forearm in, you really throw it in. Like I
Right.
quite liked that style
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it made you feel like you was more not in a fight, but in something which actually you felt it. Do you know what I mean? Rather
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
just running around.
Yeah. Like I get the you know, I understand because you know I'm from old school. I don't know if you guys could tell here. I can understand a little bit the critique and complaints, but I also appreciate what some of the wrestlers are doing now with their
Yeah, yeah.
athleticism is like insane. Like what they could do now with their bodies. It's like the flips and it's just crazy what they could do and the timing and it's insane. So I can appreciate the athleticism that they show today.
Yeah. Oh, mate, like
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things that used to grind my gears a bit when you tell someone, "Oh, I do I'm a pro wrestler," and they're like, "Oh, that just that fake stuff in it." It's like, no, it's not fake. Am I able to swear actually? Out of
Yeah.
curiosity. Oh, right, okay. I was just about to drop an F bomb then. I was like, right,
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh no,
know.
you can curse here, brother.
Oh, right, okay. Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
We're not
Fuck it.
PG. Yeah. Fucking hell. Lovely. Yeah. So I remember like talking with people like, oh, I'm doing pro wrestling. You know, my dream is to like go to like WWE, do all that. But yeah, that's that
Yeah.
fake shit, isn't it? And it's like people would undermine any aspect of how much fucking work it took for you to get to a certain level.
Right.
And people don't realize that to be a wrestler is like no easy feat. You know, the years of learning how to do mat wrestling, bumps, running the ropes, like running the ropes in
Yeah.
itself is a craft, and you've got to be able to do this without even thinking about a match. So then when you go
Hmm.
into the match, you're not thinking about running ropes and doing all this other stuff. It's like second
Yeah.
nature. And I think until somebody has actually gone out and actually stepped in the ring and done some form of wrestling, it's really easy to cart it off like it's an easy sport to do.
Yeah.
But it really honestly is much more tougher than a lot of people think. So when people throw those critiques about that, like, you know, is it real? Is it not real? It's like it
Yeah.
definitely is 100% real in aspects, but there's entertainment in there as well.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I don't know if you've heard Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know, Steve Austin's rant. He had a really great interview rant that went viral, basically kind of calling out Conor McGregor for kind of bashing wrestling.
Mm.
And it was an epic rant. If you guys have not seen it, those of you that are watching and listening to this on Spotify, it was a great rant. And he basically said what you said, but in Steve Austin's way, where it was just like, he's just like, you have no idea. You have no idea, you know, the
Yeah,
differences between pro wrestling and being an MMA fighter where you have time to train. You have like one fight to worry about, and then you're done. Then you can go home to your family. You can rest. You know, pro wrestling's no joke, man. Every
mate.
week you're flying somewhere and having matches and bumps and injuries. It's no joke.
Yeah. But one of the things that really gets overlooked again is when you're on the indie scene, right? You're not getting paid that much. So you're out there busting your ass every fucking night,
That's
several
right.
nights a week, or even once a week, right? But eventually, the more you keep doing it, it's great. But your body starts getting a little knock here and a little knock there. Your back aches here, your back aches there. Before you know it, you can have a match and you can have an injury that lasts for several weeks or months, right?
Yeah.
But unlike, you know, in any professional sport, it takes a lot of work and sweat equity to get to a certain level, regardless of whatever sport it is. But with wrestling, there's like this essence of like you can undermine it because you know, oh, it's not real or whatever. But the problem is like there's so much your body goes through generally to get to the point of being in a match in the first place. Obviously,
Yeah.
throwing yourself on the floor is not a natural thing to do, but learning break falls, you have to be able to do that. You know, when you run the ropes and you get thrown into the turnbuckle and your back's all ripped up underneath your armpits, like that's a real thing, and you have rope burns all over the place.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of like that stuff that it's just part of what you do.
Right.
But you're doing it because you love the sport, not because you're getting paid loads of money.
That's right.
And I think that for me is like, for the indie boys and all the indie people that and girls that work on the scenes, it's all good when you're at the top, but those ones working their way up, you know, it's not easy. It's really not easy to get to a certain level. It's just, you know, you've got to work, you've got to do your normal stuff, life, family,
Yeah.
you know, does beat you up a bit.
Yeah, and I felt an actual ring. Like, I felt the ring floor. It is not a trampoline, guys. That is not a trampoline. I put my hand in there and like felt it. And I was like, oh shit. This is not a lot of give here. Oh my goodness. Yeah. But
Nah,
we,
man. And it depends on the type of ring as well. Like, so when I was training in Atlanta doing that work there with Dave Taylor, he had ex-WCW rings. And so he had an ex-WCW ring. So it was like a legit proper ring, full size, the whole shebang. But them rings, people don't realize that the ropes were made out of like elevator cable.
oh my goodness.
So when you hit the rope,
Yeah.
there's like fuck all give in those ropes.
Oh,
and I mean, I wasn't having like matches, I was just training, but running the ropes day in, day out for like a solid week.
yeah.
It's so different to running the ropes like we'd get on the indie scene. Like, because you know, they're usually made from actual rope and they're taped up or whatever, or probably now they've advanced it a bit.
Right.
But I just never forget hitting those turnbuckles and just feeling like every single posting that I got.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the week, I was like, my back just can't take it. It was proper intense.
Right. Wow, man. That's wild. That is definitely wild. But hey, man, you know, this is awesome, brother, that you got a chance to live your dream. Look at this guy. He's jacked. He's jacked. You're still jacked, by the way. But that's awesome, man. You got a chance to live your dream, man. And now you're living your dream in another similar format of entertainment, but just a different direction. And we're going to get into that. You know, it's funny what you said earlier. People always complain and they always bash, you know, like something they've never done, is, you know, with pro wrestling, and you know, until they've done it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll shut up, right? Kind of sounds like a lot of film critics out there who have not made a movie, or at least been a part of a movie set or been on set and been there all day and see how hard it is to make a micro budget movie that's filmed in like 4 days. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculously difficult thing to do. And these critics out there who have never done that, yeah, they're the ones that need to shut the fuck up. Sorry.
Shut the fuck up. I like that.
Yeah. This is probably one of the worst comments that I hate seeing all the time. This movie looks like fifth graders could have did better job. It's like I always hear and see stuff like that. I'm like, you've never seen, and like it's almost like when they see an indie movie or a low budget movie, they immediately dismiss it. You know, and it's just kind of like it's either Scorsese or nothing. It's like, no, that's not how filmmaking works. There's amazing film shorts out there. There's amazing low budget, small budget indie flicks out there that, in my opinion, kind of recently have been kicking the AAA big budget movies' asses. You know, I always call them big budget AAA disappointments. Yeah, it's got millions and millions of dollars behind the special effects and stuff, but you feel empty. You don't remember what you saw, or you end up hating it because it's trash. Meanwhile, I look to my left here, I find something on streaming, small budget, smaller movie, and it blows my mind, whether it's martial arts, action, or horror. And I feel like, critics, real movie critics, you should be like me, where I only review movies and I only look at them with the genre they're trying to represent. I'm not going to look at a low budget Western, a small, low budget indie Western. I'm not going to watch that and immediately try to compare it to The Good and the Bad and the Ugly, or immediately try to compare it to Tombstone and then rate the movie that way. What I'm going to do, I'm going to look at that low budget Western, I'm going to watch it, and in that low budget Western, if the characters are great, if the story is great, if I can find entertainment in that low budget Western, that's when I review and rate the movie. And that's how all criticism should be. But
Yeah,
people are idiots, Leroy. People are
mate.
fifth graders can make it. No, you guys stop. Get off IMDb. Get off Letterbox. You don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, I just had to do a rant there. But go ahead. Go ahead, Leroy.
The thing is like it's just really easy to sit on a keyboard and chuck words
Exactly
out there.
Yeah.
For me, it's more about like I'm aware it's a business.
Yes.
So people are paid to chat shit. That's it. So regardless of whether they like the material or not,
yeah,
there's people that are just sometimes more in favor just because they're getting paid to just write about whatever. And this ain't just like in film, this is in anything. And it's a profitable business for some people, just chatting shit. And I get it. But the one thing is like, it's really easy to talk about a thing when you don't do the thing, because there should be a level of respect that's like you know, it's like when you pay, you know, I'm into horror, I'm into action, there's things where I like to pay homage to people, like to artists that I would look at and be inspired by.
Right.
But one of the things that like you tend to find, there becomes this like new wave of new think of how film should be, and they don't, it's like they like, you know, there's this new thing known as elevated horror as example. And ultimately, when you study what elevated horror does become, it becomes ultimately old school telling of horror, but not in the new term of how it's meant now. It means something, it's got to be like more art house than elevated genre horror. There's conventions that go in to telling a certain story. So what you've got is you've got people that come to the table with a preconceived notion of what that film should be for them, not what the story is about. Do you know what I mean? Without any respect to maybe where the source material could be coming from or any of that. But I understand people are only going to judge you on face value regardless. So we work in an industry where you're judged strictly on face value, and it's a throwaway commodity. And this is why sometimes it takes fans of genre, fans of games, fans of different movies and stuff like that, to sometimes go out on a limb, be indie filmmakers and just go and make a fan film or just go and do something. It's a bit like, I obviously I haven't seen any of the material of it. The Crow is a very good example. The new portrayal of the Crow, like the new shot with Skarsgård
that's gone
in
viral.
As somebody that was heavily inspired by that film, like a lot of my work works with a lot of light and dark in the material,
classic,
but also in the aesthetic. Like I really love the gothic feel of what it's almost like a film noir type of vibe, but with a villain, an anti-villain, anti-hero type of character that Brandon was playing, as you know, in The Crow. So when I saw the new shot of the look, and I'm all up for trying different stuff. But this is the thing. There'll be critics that will praise that, and I'm sure for some people that will be great. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing or whatever, but the purists, the people that are ultimately like you, me, people that are gonna go out of their way with a ticket, with their money, and go and pay to watch a film in the cinema. Like, 'cause that's what I do. I don't do that pirate stuff. I don't believe in none of that. I go out there and pay for the films that I want to see. They know it's a cash grab. So in the end, they know people that like are fans of genre or fans of certain things. Unfortunately, get used a little bit by critics, by studios, and by stuff like that. And I think for me, it needs to go more pure, more purist. Those people put the money in the hands of the creators that actually give a fuck.
There you go.
That's how I see it.
Yes.
You know, in my career, I mean, I'm sort of, I guess, just starting, you know, in my career as a director and writer and stuff. But like my goal definitely is to stay true to a story style, to an aesthetic that I like, and one that can transcend, rather than it be like just jump on the bandwagon because it's cool. Like I don't believe in chasing trends, because when you chase trends, you never set one. Do you know what I mean?
I like that.
I think that's like so important as a storyteller, like more so as a storyteller.
Yeah.
You got to be on that wave.
Yeah, no, that's well said. Well said. Oh, we have a DJ Anubis watching right now. He's saying, "What's going on?" Movie Dojo
Good.
Army. Hello, Leroy. I
Raising my cup.
believe The Crow is his favorite movie of all time. So this is like perfect. This is like a perfect segue here. It's good to see you,
Right.
Anubis. Yeah, there we go. 100% agree, Leroy.
Yeah.
Uh,
But
entertainment.
it's like it's a funny one. Like I really hope. I've got to be careful because I will get on a proper rant about it. I'm trying to politely put words out there without going too hardcore. But
Yeah,
like as a purist of something that I really found myself being inspired by, I will use The Crow as the example.
yeah,
I just really hope the fan service is true to an aspect of the material. I know it may be not like the Brandon Lee's style story wasn't
right,
necessarily true to the comics, but we can forgive that because I didn't know about the comics before I knew about the film of Brandon
right.
Lee.
Me neither. Yeah, me neither. Yeah,
You
found
know,
out later. Yeah,
but like that style of film where what is it? There's this famous quote that he says, and it gives me goosebumps every time I think about it. And this is what's missing from some good films today. It's mother is God on the hearts and lips of children. Mate, like that as a quote. And I mean, there's loads of other ones in there, but
yeah,
that quote there, it's like there was some real heart in that story. And I just hope that there's some heart in this one because
yeah.
it will be very easy to see if the heart isn't in it. And as a fan of it, I pray that it is.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed for it. Hopefully, it's a good movie. Physicality wise, after watching the trailer for Boy Kills World, I'm like, okay, Skarsgård might be okay with the action scenes for The Crow, so that I'm not worried about. But
Yeah, yeah.
then the movie is directed by the guy who did Ghost in the Shell, so I was like, oh no. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, it's good. I just wish, I mean, there's 5 billion different crow stories you could tell. You can have a female crow, you can have a Native American crow. There's so many, different eras that you could explore with the crow concept. I just wish they didn't do a remake of Eric Draven. They were better off just doing another crow movie with a similar premise with a new character. I think that was
Yeah.
probably safer.
I think the criticism that could come in is like you're not just telling part of a segued story, you're telling
Yeah,
the story of the night. You know what I mean? And I believe that the story, from what I've seen, takes place more over the fact of like it's just not about the night. When you start the film, obviously the original Crow, when you start that movie, you're thrown straight into people flying out of windows and all sorts of stuff. And it's like, oh shit, you're thrown
yeah,
right into the heat of it. I
yeah.
think this builds up to the Crow, the
Okay,
transition, I believe.
okay,
But it's all up to interpretation. So
yeah. Well,
we
like you
shall see.
said, hopefully, if they do go their own way in a different route, hopefully it's still entertaining, and it doesn't, shit on the fans. We'd be like, it could bring in a new audience and still please, like you said, with the some fan service, the hardcore people that represent the original classic. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe after the movie comes out, Leroy, maybe I'll have you back on the show. Let's review it.
Oh mate, yeah, I hope it's all right, man. Like,
Yeah,
one of the mad things is like, as somebody that loves genre film, like
yeah,
just genre, like action, horror,
yeah,
that type of space.
yeah, man.
Anytime I've gone to the cinema in recent times, I have started to fall out of love with going to the cinema to watch a movie because it feels a lot more like I'm having boxes ticked for me
Mm-hmm.
to watch a film that has to fit this type of specific
Yeah,
narrative
yeah.
versus just telling a good fucking story.
That's
Like,
it.
to me, that's all I give a fuck about. Like in my career as a storyteller,
Yeah,
like I just want to tell good stories.
yeah,
Now, it ain't going to be for everybody, but the truth is like it shouldn't have someone in it just to fit someone in it. It should be the right person for the right story, for the right character, and the right motivations of that character to take action, however they see fit, whatever they're doing. And I think, like, you know, a lot of the time, you know, story gets ham-fisted in a certain way because so many other people want to have a perspective on how a story should be told. And the truth actually is like, you start to stifle and censor too much. If you think about it, if you self-censor when you have a conversation, you're not really telling the truest part of yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's things you would say naturally that you might not say. But it's the same thing in telling stories as well. If all you're going to do is just listen to the voices and opinions of everybody else, apart from your centerpiece, where that heart chakra of the story is going to come from, you're not really telling the best version of a story. And I think, like, this is the things with remakes, is I think remakes are cool, but if you do not serve the fucking material and the fans of the material, people that are heavily inspired, and okay, the audience is older, but that doesn't mean the audience still doesn't exist.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that gets forgotten about a little bit sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean, if they do, if Aliens is ever done, mate, we definitely got to have a chat. Alien, that's it.
I dare Hollywood to remake Aliens.
Oh, mate,
I dare you. It's you can't.
Oh, dear.
It's like a perfect movie. You can't. Good luck with that.
Do you know, I think I would actually cry if it was done and I was like,
game over, man. Game over.
Game over.
I'll be calling you up. Game over, Leroy. They're remaking Aliens. It's over. Yeah. Oh my god. But yeah, no, that's so perfect. Just make great stories. Just make good stories. Make us love these characters or hate these characters, the villains. You know, let us actually care about what we're watching. Director James Couché, I've had him on the channel a couple of times. He sent me this really interesting video of this guy who made a whole thesis on why a lot of action movies feel the same nowadays. And he wasn't bashing because there's so many, extremely talented filmmakers. Like you have Sam Hargrave, you have the 8711 crew, right? And he said those guys are extremely talented, and he loves what they do. They give us mind-blowing action set pieces. They're amazing. So he wasn't bashing the action stunt directors of today, but he brought up an interesting point of how clarity they have now the stuntmen are directing now. So clarity in the action set pieces are amazing because we have clarity now. There's no more shaky cam. There's no more quick cut editing. There's no more, filming things in dark locations where you can't see it, right? They're trying to hide things. You can see all the amazing action in John Wick. You can see all this stuff. And he says he loves it. He says it's amazing. But a lot of directors nowadays are using the same stunt guys and same second unit direction guys and action directors to do a lot of their movies, which is not a bad thing because they're going to give you great action set pieces. But that's why they all feel the same now a little bit in a way, because you're using the same guys for everything. Same guys who did John Wick, the same guys who did Sisu. And so, again, I love the action in John Wick. I love the action in Sisu, right? Like I'm a fan of all that stuff. But what was interesting is he said his favorite fight scene of last year, despite of all the action movies that came out, was from a movie that wasn't even an action movie. The fight scene in the house with Michael Fassbender from The Killer. The Killer's not an action movie. It's not. But that fight blew me away, man. The sound design of it, the way it's filmed, it was just visceral and violent. And I was just like, dude, this fight feels realistic. It feels, you would love it. You would love this fight.
I need to have a watch of that. Yeah. I'm trying to make a mental note of it. Once we get off here, I'm gonna have a little look.
Yeah, it's not an action movie, but it's a slow burn.
Yeah.
But there's one fight in that, but you won't forget it because it's right up your alley. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
But he said that's his favorite fight, and he said that we love action movies. We will always watch what 8711 does, and all these guys are so extremely talented. Daniel Bernhardt, shout out to him, and all these guys are so good. But he said, imagine if all of these same action movies had amazing storytelling and amazing character development. Imagine how much more that would heighten the action sequences, even more so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
good action becomes great action when it has really good stories behind it.
Well, you got to look at what is the result of action. Action is the result primarily of no options left. It shouldn't be the result of first port of call. And I think what tends to happen in a lot of in a lot of film is action seems to be the only line of defense and the first point of call and the first anything anyone does. And I don't think that's bad. I just do feel that, like, again, when there's too much of a good thing become a bad thing. I think
right.
for me, story should story should unfold. Characters should be allowed to be how they're going to be in said story, but yet how does this character react or respond to said sequence, said danger that's looming? But also, is there another option beyond the fight? Because I think, when you're in a hostile situation and you start to process in a way how human emotion really works. Now, I know you're not doing a documentary fight,
Right.
but it's trying to ground certain aspects of fight sequences so it's not all entirely the same. Because I do believe that ultimately, like, when we get talking about Ascendants, I'll explain some of my thinking behind the action for that. But I think when the camera becomes the star player to what is going on to the sequence, and it's all about the moves and it's all about that versus the character's story, I feel that no matter how good a fight sequence is, it's just a fight sequence, regardless of any film. You could name loads of films, but you mentioned that one film, The Killer, and it was a good fight scene, probably because there were stakes involved. He probably was injured. He probably had an issue where he had to solve a problem mid-flight of the fight, which means it grounds it in a real sort of sense. And I haven't seen this, like, so I don't know. But if what I'm saying is making sense with it, it's like, that's the thing. Like, it's that human touch to the fight itself,
Right.
it's like when you look at, like, John Wick 1. Like, John Wick 1 was like my favorite of all the John Wicks.
Yeah.
The action sequences were really, really cool. It was really designed, like, amazingly, but it was the grounding aspect for me. It was like his motivation for doing it weirdly was quite justified in a weird sort of way.
Yeah.
You come in my house, kill my dog. It was more the dog, not the car.
Yeah.
But it's what the dog represented, right?
Right.
So, but when you look at those sequences, they're not like overly long, even though they did do some long sequences in that. But then obviously, as time goes on, it's like, you now got to start expanding on those types of sequences, and it creates like if you think of it, it's like a setting a trend. When it's cool, everybody wants to do it,
Right.
and then everybody does it. And it's not that, like, it's a bad thing, because I think, like, action for me is like, if it fits the story and the character, then that's all that matters.
Right.
But you do see a lot of past for my style of action. I can't critique or say anything about anybody else's, but for my style of action, I don't like move sequences going on for forever and a day, because to me, how I see that is when you watch dance videos and people are rehearsing in a dance studio, there's a certain style that they're shot like, they might be on a little gimbal or something, and they move around really steady, everything's in frame and you can see everything.
Yeah.
the art of misdirection to me is really important as a director, like as a storyteller, like not breaking the 180 rule. To some people, like, oh my god, you can't break the 180 rule, you can't do that. But rules are designed to keep you sort of in a box. See, in school, I was the kid that color outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, I would break the 180 rule if it makes sense to do it. Not
Right.
because I'm trying to be smart or whatever, but sometimes that's where the fun is. That's where if you have a formula that fits every fucking thing,
Yeah.
it's just going to be a throwaway thing, and it's going to be like anything else before it. Whereas when you just dive in a bit, like, so if in Ascendants, I'll use that as that's the most recent thing. It's like in that, that was me with the camera, holding the camera. I'm rolling around on the floor with the action just as much as the actors are on the floor doing stuff. Now, there's a certain energy that can get created in the frame. And I think it's not shooting the shot that you want, it's shooting the shot that works for the story. And sometimes I can see the cinematic scope versus does that fit or belong in a story. And that's not just action, that's in all sorts of genres. I
Right.
think
Right.
sometimes the more grittier feel, and this is down to taste,
Yeah.
the more grittier feel is the one that might serve a story much better than a high, perfectly framed, nice and steady moved piece of action, or
Right.
horror build. Maybe
Yeah.
we need to feel the edges a bit. Maybe we need to feel the wobble of the camera.
Yeah.
Because
You're gonna love that fight, man. Everything you're talking about, you're gonna love that fight in The Killer. It's what you're saying.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think though, like one of the biggest things you mentioned, like sound design for
Yeah.
me is probably 60%, maybe 70% of what you're going to watch. I think the sound design is the most crucial aspect of making it feel like a solid, unified piece.
Yeah.
Even if the action's really good, but the sound design doesn't marry well to it, you will notice it, and you won't feel the hits. You
Right.
won't feel the
Yeah.
trepidation of like danger, like, oh shit, you got stabbed, and you hear the squelching or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
that sort of stuff that makes it
Yeah.
really powerful.
No, it's so important. And that's why in that fight with the killer, the sound design was so amazing that it was almost disorienting for the viewer. I can't explain it. You have to watch it. But hold on, we got speaking of martial arts, we got martial artist Chucky in the house. He says, "Hey guys, great to be watching and being part of your show. I like The Crow, especially since I was a friend of Brandon Lee. Look at that, rest in power. It's very emotional, especially since Brandon lost it. Yeah, yeah, rest in power. But yeah, it's good to see you, Chuck, and that's awesome. Look at that. I didn't know he was friends with Brandon. I think Chuck knows everyone. Chuck knows all the legends.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, he knows all. But thanks for chiming in and watching. But yeah, we getting down to the nitty grit. We get some great conversation today, baby. That's what it's all about. But yeah, before we segue to even more filmmaking discussion, really quick because I'm going to forget. Top 5 favorite pro wrestlers or favorite wrestler. Which one is your favorite? Do you have a favorite, or do you have a top 5 personal favorite?
Triple H will be my number one. Love Stone Cold. The Rock, yeah, like the Rock.
Villain heel Rock was like epic. Villain
Yeah,
heel Rock could not be touched. He's
yeah,
like one of the best. That's
that was a good
3.
time.
You got 2 more?
Who else we got? No, I think
Those
I'm
are
happy to
3? Okay.
leave that there. But
Okay.
Triple H Trips,
Yeah.
yeah,
Trips.
he was the one that I was like, well, there was an idol that I had when I wrestled, it would have been
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. He had one of the best spine busters. Like his spine buster off the rope, man, was great. And so I love it when he did it to the Undertaker on the steel steps. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah,
We need more spine busters today. Where's
yeah.
the Arn Andersons?
That's it. Spine on the pine, I think they call that, isn't it? It's the pine wood underneath the
Yeah,
wheel.
yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, those are 3 great ones, man, for sure.
I had a funny story about Triple H.
Okay.
When I first ever met Triple H.
Yeah.
During like my wrestling career, I was fortunate enough to have a few tryouts. I had a match on SmackDown. I done a little bit there. They sort of knew who I was. I got a check from them for, I think it was like a couple of £100,
Yeah.
like when I was doing it. But my first time ever meeting Triple H was I was 19 or 20 at the time. Is it Newcastle? It was like the Metrodome. And I've gone into the bathroom with one of the other wrestlers that I was with. And we're like pinching ourselves, like, wow, we're in the WWE arena. There's all these people here. Well, not all these people, but there was all like the people you watched on the shows. Jericho, right. Big Show, Steiner was there, Batista was there, you know,
Oh,
Bradshaw, everybody was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're like little kids in a sweet shop. And so we walk in the toilet, be like, oh, isn't it really funny if we, you know, was in there anyway? We went to the toilet. Someone was in the cubicle beside me. So we're joking about. I've come out, and then Triple H has literally walked out and met Ric Flair, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, I could have just like died just there, like literally, because I was so starstruck. But
yeah, well,
at the same time, I was a bit like, but we was just so excited by being in there, so I didn't expect to see it, and it was just like, whoa. But yeah, that's a funny story. I had a piss next to Triple H.
And Ric Flair. Yeah.
And Ric Flair.
Oh, that's crazy. How wild is that? But yeah, those guys are legends, man, for sure. But when did you get the filmmaking bug, man? When did that start?
Well, that started in 2014. I would say I'm one of those what you would call late bloomers, right? I went without going into tons of history, but you know, loosely giving you a view of it. I didn't do well in school. Went with undiagnosed autistic tendencies, which are on the spectrum of high functioning autism. Still undiagnosed to this day, but I know because I've done my research on it, and it just makes sense with my life and how I've been, and hence the fact I'm nocturnal, pretty much. That's part of it. But one of the things is that I always found myself like just getting absorbed by something, right? But I was at a place where I didn't know where I wanted to be. I just left wrestling in 2012. I didn't really know creatively where I wanted to go, but I knew wrestling, after I fell out of love with it, I knew that wasn't where my heart was. And I think I was trying to search for something else. But what I ended up doing is I got into like a bit of like acting sort of stuff. Today I do a bit of stunt work as well. But one of the things that I was really sort of like curious about, I was like, well, I want to be in a role that's a bit like this. So why don't I just write a little character role? Just nothing crazy, bit of martial arts in it. So I wrote a fan film called Crime Free Man New World Order. So that was the first short film. Like no crew, there's no budget, like it's just mates hanging out shooting it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did this one short and we took it to Cannes, believe it or not. We went to the short film corner out in Cannes. We showcased our film out there. But I'm the type of person that, like, if I'm going to do something, right, I don't believe in half baking the potato. I believe in, if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to go for it. So one of the things that I ended up doing while I was there was I started getting the idea of like, right, if this was a feature film, how would I think of it? How would I this? How would I that? Anyway, we went around a few little distributors and stuff inside of the marché where they do all the selling and distributing in Cannes. Talked my way into a few meetings. The meetings went probably terrible because I had no idea what I was doing. But what I realized when we did it is that there's something about the way that I can convey something and the way that I'm passionate about this story stuff that was getting people, I don't want to say excited, but it was getting interest in a way.
Yeah.
Now, nothing happened with that project, but it made me think about another project. And the next project was the Max Payne Retribution. So a lot of my earlier stuff was paying homage to things that I was really inspired by. So Crime Free Man You know, I was very inspired by that.
Boom. There you go.
Boom. Very
Yeah.
inspired by that. Obviously, that's our poster, but Crime Free Man as a story, I was very inspired by it. But what I did with that story for Free Man New World Order, I was like, what happens if there's a world full of free men and
Right.
they just happen to be some in the UK, some over here, some over there, but they've all got missions. So I took that perspective. So it wasn't like trying to remake anything, but I always wanted to have my little spin with the world,
Yeah.
respecting the world. So
Right.
the same thing happened with Max Payne Retribution. But after Max Payne Retribution, something different really happened after doing that. Was I really found myself falling in love with the process of writing story, like more than I weirdly at the time would have ever liked to admit. Like I was acting a bit in that, but I was directing it and shooting it. So all the stuff I'm in, I didn't shoot, but all the stuff I'm not in, I shot. You know, I've done all the editing and all that stuff. But through that process of doing that, I found that I just really love telling stories. And it was a little bug that was in me that made me think, as much as I want to do acting and to be up in the lights and whatever, I started realizing that maybe what was trying to get me to do that was a bit of ego that I had from wrestling, that probably needed to understand that I'm probably a much better storyteller than trying to be someone else. Not that I couldn't be, because I can do acting stuff. I still do a little bit here and there,
Yeah.
but I'm a firm believer sometimes in that, like, not because you're good at something, it's not that you can't do it. Sometimes that it's a stepping stone to get you to the next thing that is going to really be your thing.
Right.
So fast forward to today, I have a company called Nocturnal Pictures. We have a slate of feature films. You know, we've shot one film, The Last Rite, that's out, distributed on Hulu, Sky, Amazon. But we've got now 4 other films, scripts all wrote, we're packaging those. I never see that happening. Had it not been for Freeman and definitely Max Payne, it
Yeah.
would never have happened because
That's
I
amazing.
wouldn't have found my
Amazing.
way to it.
Right.
So that in a roundabout sort of way, that's really where the bug started, from doing these shorts that I wanted to act in and then finding my voice as a
Yeah.
storyteller through that.
See, shorts are important. Short films are important, man. And Max Payne won an award here. Yeah, look at that. Best fan film and won an award. How cool is that? And you got another award down here for When
Yeah,
Angels Rise there.
yeah, that was a little music video. I was as you can see, I'm going for the balloon in that. There was just a bit of acting stuff I was doing there. It was
Yeah.
like a boxer or
Yeah.
something.
But how cool though. Best fan film for Max Payne. And I have not seen this short film yet, but I'm guaranteeing you, everybody watching right now, that this short film is is a better homage to the video game than that horrible Mark Wahlberg movie that I don't want to talk about.
Oh, mate, yeah. I
Dude,
mean, like, I will say, like,
it does
Mac,
have its fans. The Mark Wahlberg movie does have its fans, but I'm just like, what do we do? It's a gritty film noir crime revenge tale. What are we doing with flying angels and demons around? Like, what is happening? But yeah, go ahead.
yeah, that mate, like Max Payne, fucking hell, that film, that no, not the film, that game.
Yeah,
I did for the fan film. I did a lot of deep, very deep research
yeah,
on that, like so deep within the characters and stuff. So
yeah,
obviously, like, storytelling aside, it was early in my career, so I'm not going to be like it's the best film ever. I was still learning and growing at that time.
yeah.
Cinematically, I wished I'd shot it now. I
Okay.
wished I'd shot. What I wanted to create, I know I could have created if I did it now, but at the time, we had things happen. In the world of indie storytelling, you have people you want to collaborate with. Some people are good collaborators, other people just want to tell their story in your work, and that's great. But if it doesn't serve what you're trying to do,
Hmm.
the paths are not working. So we got let down by 2 DPs, and in the end, I had to pick up the camera and do it myself because we just were not getting the right support. However, storytelling aside and all of that, again, that was another lesson that I learned about. I love DPing. I love cinematic language. I love all of that.
Yeah.
So what people will see if they watch Max Payne, if we talk about coming back to the deeper stuff, is those people that know about this little Easter eggs that are in Max Payne. There's like the little address unknown things that are on the TVs as you're walking around the game, and all of the random little things.
Yeah.
You will see so much peppered in there, not because I'm trying to be fancy, but just because I care about the material.
Yeah.
Like I was like, there's no way I'm going to get my hands on a story and make Max Payne and not actually make it Max Payne.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
There's a little scene where he's in the bar and they're pouring like a little bit of like bourbon because he liked bourbon. But like in the game, in Max Payne 3, you'll see that there's a whiskey bottle with Kong on it. So like what we did is we recreated the Kong logo, stuck it on there, and just done small stuff that nobody would really pay attention to. But for me, it's the details, because the devil is in the details.
Yeah.
Every time, especially when you're fan servicing something.
Yeah. And that alone makes it better than the Mark Wahlberg movie.
Yeah.
Because you actually care. But yeah, man, is there a way we can watch it? Is it on the Nocturnals website, or
it's on its own handle as Max Payne Retribution.
So just type that up on YouTube. We could find it and watch it.
Yeah. With that though, believe it or not, after we shot it and did it, like at some point in my life, I believe I would like to tell a Max Payne series.
Ooh.
Not like so I'd wrote like the template for 10 episodes for a Max Payne series that sits between Mona and Max, and they're like inner twisted sort of like, because ultimately Max Payne's a film noir love story when you look at it. Like, she's the damsel not in distress but is really in distress but can't admit it. There's a love for one another, and it's like I love that dynamic. I really love that dynamic. I think it's really interesting and not really told so much in modern cinema. I don't think. And like, so we had this like whole idea and stuff, and we did like a little random pitch video that's on the YouTube channel, but at the moment we haven't got the name yet. So once I get a larger name as a director, maybe one day that'll be coming to a screen near you.
Well, after watching Ascendants, you have my support, right? You have my full endorsement to do a Max Payne series. But yeah, let's keep it rocking and rolling here. You did a little bit of horror here. Is this like zombie horror film we got going here?
Yeah, believe it or not, inspired by a true story here. We did this back in 2017. It was a loose idea called Dead Zone. It was basically like a breakout of a virus that segregated everybody into zones and done this and done that. And then a few years later, we had COVID.
Wow.
So it was like, so there was a lot of stuff. Like, so because of my my curiosity around source material, I dig very deep into material, because I think it's very difficult to explain something, especially darker narrative stuff, because my life experience is probably a little different to some people. Years ago, to give context, I used to be an undertaker, so I worked in an environment where I was around a lot of death and stuff like that. So there's certain things that I use from that experience, not just in my creative endeavors, but life as well, like perspective and appreciation of time. So I use all this stuff and I put that into the material that I write, but I dig very deep on certain material. And that Dead Zone, when I looked at the scientific studies of a lot of what's going on in the world and a lot of different stuff, you'd be surprised, mate. Like,
wow.
COVID wasn't far from that story.
Wow.
Like, it was really weird, a bit cathartic in a way, to sort of think I had this like little idea,
Yeah.
and then something sort of close to it happened, because it
Wow.
involved the government turning on the people a little bit, because there was a
Okay.
lot. If you remember back with the COVID stuff, just after that, there was all the riots, there was all the segregation with the Black Lives Matter movement, then there was the other movement of like, you know, storming the White House and all of that. And it's like that
Yeah.
anarchy and chaos was sort of where that premise of this story lived.
Wow. Wow. Look at
But
it. Got some awards there too, it looks like. Is
yeah,
this zombies or no? This is just something else. This is another
yeah,
take.
it's set inside of a zombie-esque
Okay.
world,
But the
but
themes is
the
like
thing the
real
theme
life,
of it,
basically.
yeah,
What eventually will happen later. Yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Wow. How crazy. That must have blew your mind, huh? You're like, what is going on?
It's yeah, you know, one of the things when you dig into source material, because I think as a writer, you know, you have to be very eclectic in terms of your ability to dive deep into different subjects, because I
Right.
think you cannot really talk about certain things without having some experience, or at least looking at certain things to be able to give you context to what you're going to tell a story on,
Gotcha.
you know.
Gotcha.
And that's, you know, like why one of the reasons why I did, you know, my first debut horror was a paranormal one, because I'm quite into all of that stuff. And
Yeah.
again, a lot of source material was researched,
Right.
because
We're
I
gonna
think
get
that's just
yeah.
important to
Yeah,
do
we're
that.
gonna get to that a little bit later here. A couple minutes, not too long from now. But back to Freeman. What did you? Were you a fan of the Mark Dacascos movie,
Loved it.
dude?
Very inspired. Very
So
inspired
good.
by it.
That's like
Like
so underrated.
it's well with that. It's the score by Patrick
Mm,
O'Hearn. You know, like the score just for me it encapsulates a period of my life where I just felt, you know, I was only, I think, about 10 when it came out. It was relatively young, but I just remember thinking to myself, like, I'm destined to do something. But I felt very inspired all the time watching film. So I just would watch films, like rewind it and watch it and watch it and watch it. And that was one of those films that I had that bit of an obsession with. You know, I had an obsession with his designed gun. I thought that was very interesting. The shape of it
yeah.
was different. So it was like the tattoo. It was all like these little details and nuances of this world that this character lived in. But yet was a bit of a tormented soul,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And
Yeah.
those things, when I think back, I think I watched that last year again, actually. And I just remembered everything. What brought me back to it from when I was a kid, I was like, the reason I love it again is there's some heart in that story, you know,
Yes.
because
Yeah.
he's not just a simple potter, is he? Do you know, he's just a simple potter. That's what he says. But
Right.
ultimately, you know, he's somebody who's exceptionally gifted with the ability of being an assassin.
Yeah.
And what makes a character more grounded than you can both have light with love, but severe darkness by doing all of the stuff that he's doing,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. It's one of Dacascos' best. It's like top 3, top 5. I just feel it's underrated because there's no like official domestic Blu-ray release over here in the States or anything. It's like, come on, like somebody remaster it and release it. Hopefully in the future. But back to horror. Do you have any favorite horror movies?
Oh, you know, I'm probably gonna say, some people say it's action, some people say it's horror. I'm probably gonna say Aliens,
It
or
works.
close to the
It
thing. One
works.
of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's either Aliens or the Thing. They're really close.
Woo!
Both of
Yeah,
them are
great
quite close
choices.
to me.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, do you know what? I just remember being creeped out by the score in Aliens. It was
Yeah.
something really haunting, like dark and foreboding
Yeah.
soundscape. You know, it was just
Yeah.
you know, I don't know if you've have you played, do you play games at all?
Just now getting back into it. I got the PS5 hooked up, so
So
I'm
there's a
playing
game.
catch up.
There's a game I'd recommend you jump in if you like Aliens,
Okay.
and that's Alien Isolation.
I heard great things about that game. Yeah.
Amazingly, like, creepy, but but the motif of sound is really reminiscent of Aliens.
Okay.
Really reminiscent of it.
Okay.
And it's like just that sound design, and in that world, it's a really good experience to just trumble through the world of, like, if you was in this scenario, how would you run through it? You might like that game. It's worth having a little look if you're into Aliens.
Yeah, I've heard great things about it. But yeah, Aliens is a classic, man.
Yeah,
It's like I said, it's like the perfect movie. We got a 27x40 poster like of Aliens right over here hanging up, because we're diehard fans of that movie. But yeah, let's take a look at another film here, Kingdom of Gladiators.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
what
how was it? How was it filming this movie?
well, that's not my film. That was
Okay.
that's a film that I did. It was my first acting debut. I did a terrible job. I'm just going to be honest, because if someone watches it and is like, "Oh, that was fucking shit," it's like, "Yeah, that was shit." Like it's all right. Like I can take that. That one's going to haunt me. Like one day I'm going to be like doing whatever, and that's going to come up. I'm going to be like, "Oh my god." But yeah,
you thank me for bringing up bad memories.
hey, but the thing is, though, this is part of the process, right?
Yeah,
Part of the process is, like, you don't start great. You have to keep going to eventually get to greatness, right? However
exactly.
you see your level of great is,
Right.
you know. But that was my first, like, ever acting job back in 2010. That was.
Was it difficult to do the fight scenes, or you were pretty much like, this is I came from pro wrestling, this is nothing?
Well, yeah. Well, the fight scenes was pretty, like, made up on the day. It was just like, if someone goes to watch it, it was, you pretty much would just, you'd see it was wrestling just in the middle of a field, basically.
Right.
The hardest bit of it, though, is there's a little sequence where I have to do some sword work. Right?
Okay.
I have to do, like, this dual sword stuff.
All right.
So I've gone to Italy to film this film, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get here. It's great. Fucking hell, we're, thinking like I made it, but didn't. I was really excited by stuff that I did. Anyway, it comes to, like, oh, these are your swords. Cool. Yeah, you got a sequence you got to do. So I'm going to learn a sequence. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm thinking I'm going to get, like, I have no sword experience at that point at all whatsoever. Yeah, you got the sequence and we're filming this bit tomorrow. Okay, cool. So, like, who's going to teach me what? Like, we don't have anyone. I was like, what? What do you mean we don't? So I had to go on YouTube,
Yeah.
and find some dual sword sequence of some sort. I didn't know about that, and try my best to replicate some of these actions for
Wow.
this little piece.
Yeah.
And I was like, you literally just throw me out there to just do that without any experience. It was mad. But you wouldn't know. You wouldn't really know. I mean, the sword work's not great on it, but
Yeah. It was
the
good
fact
enough.
it got the job done.
It got the job done. There you go.
It got the job done.
Well, you know where I'm segueing to next now. Thoughts on Gladiator 2 Electric Boogaloo?
Gladiator 2 Electric Boogaloo. What? Hey, let me have a sip.
I have a bad habit of throwing Electric Boogaloo after anything too. But yeah, they're sequeling Gladiator, right?
Yeah.
Gladiator 2. What do you think?
I think there's some good room, maybe,
Okay.
for something like that.
Okay.
I think the bar is really, really set very high, though.
Yeah.
That's an iconic movie. There's a lot of moments in that movie. The hand on the Wii is the main thing, but there's so much more to it than that. But as long as it doesn't go down the path of the modern wokeness of stuff, I'm all about inclusion. Like, somebody of color and all that. Like, that's fine. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But the story has to be the story. If we start getting different levels of storytelling and stuff going on in there. Not that it's going to be bad. I don't believe that, but
yeah,
it's going to be very easy to lose the fans again. And then
yeah,
it becomes, because this is the problem with reboots, isn't it? Or when you redo something,
right.
if it usually doesn't, for some reason, it doesn't stay true to its material.
Yeah, yeah,
Anything you look back at always segues in some way away from it.
yeah,
And I get about the originality, and I think you should be original, but you know, if you've taken to the task of doing a certain job, now obviously I know Ridley Scott is on Gladiator 2, so it's
right.
his baby, and I'm sure he will service it amazingly.
Hopefully, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just hope that there's no things in there that are just going to not make it.
yeah. No agenda-based, preachy stuff. Just tell a good story. And if you have a message, let it be subtle. Let it be organic. Let it flow naturally. But just tell a good story, like my man Leroy said earlier. Hopefully it's good. But what's funny is I saw an interview with Russell Crowe, and he's like, for the love of God, stop asking me about Gladiator 2. He's like, stop asking me about Gladiator 2. My character is dead. I will not be in it. He's like, stop asking me about it. That made me laugh.
It would have been
I was
nice maybe
busted
if
up.
they could have
Their flashback?
squeezed him.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, like a little
Yeah,
flashback of some sort, squeezed him in there.
yeah, yeah. Unless he's just bullshitting and he does have a scene, you don't want to spoil
That
it.
would be good.
Yeah,
That'd be
yeah,
good.
yeah.
And they probably wouldn't want
Speak
to spoil that.
right. Speaking of actors turn, excuse me, pro wrestlers turn actors. How was it working with those Stu Bennett here?
Oh, legend.
Yeah.
He's a bloody great guy, he is.
Did he have any
Um,
bad news for you?
Bad News Brown. Got a funny story about our dear fellow here as well.
Yeah.
I come from a wrestling school when I used to train in a place called Purfleet, which is in Essex sort of way, this side of the water.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a school called Dropkicks. And I was there for his very first day playing in the ring and trying stuff out. And I got to grapple him on his first day in because I think
Nice.
he was from
Yeah.
a bit of a military background and he was trying to get
Yeah.
into wrestling, but he's really tall, quite built, jacked, got a good shape.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and he's strong as an ox as well. Really strong guy. But absolute professional. Really, really great
Nice.
guy. Really loved working with him on Iron Vengeance there, where I was one of the actors in that. So yeah, no, it was good. Good
Cool.
guy.
That's awesome. Mr. Wade Barrett. There,
Wade
that's right.
Barrett.
Gary Daniels also in the movie. Did you get a chance to have any scenes with him or work with him?
Unfortunately not. I
Ah.
on my day or 2 days of filming, I took my DVD Fist of the North Star. I wanted that signature because
God damn it.
mate, again,
Yeah.
that's another film. Gary
Yeah.
Daniels is a bit of a childhood inspiration as well because he wasn't really like Hollywood. He was
Yeah.
Hollywood, but he wasn't Hollywood. But I just remember him, man with the legs, just throwing kicks all over the place, like
Yeah.
a legend.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I really hoped that I was on one of the sets with him, but I wasn't, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, I actually met him at
Barrett.
a convention like years ago. I got my photo. I had to sneak a photo with him, but he was a sweetheart when I met him back in the day. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
he was a sweetheart.
really humble guy. I hear. Like I've got a couple of people that I know that know him.
Yeah.
Yeah, really humble guy, and on a
Yeah.
real spiritual journey as well. It's quite nice
Yeah, I
seeing his
see that. I
post.
see his posts. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. He's still in shape. He's still jacked. Speaking of being jacked. But now we have come to The Last Rite, man. Now that's a poster. That's how you do posters. God damn it. I always rant about, I will never stop ranting. Like I just, the posters for the past like 10 years or 15 years in Hollywood, they're all generic. They're all vanilla. They're all profile pics of actors' faces with a blank, bland background. That's it. Every goddamn poster. And I'm like, yeah, I want to watch that. Let's fucking go. But yeah, uh, this is on Hulu, right? For those who are interested to check out The Last Rite, a film you directed and wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta watch this, man. I gotta watch this. How did this concept come about?
Well, weirdly, yeah, I'm trying to cut a long story short, but there's no way of cutting it short. I was working on Jack Ryan in Colombia at the time. I was doing some stunt work.
Yeah, and you were on Gangs of London too.
Yes, season 2. I was throwing down with Narges, one of the lead actresses in that. I had a little sequence there.
How cool is that?
That was fucking awesome, man. That was really good.
Yeah.
I love that show. Got a lot of
Yeah.
what's that you were?
He says, yeah, you were in an episode of Gangs of London. Love that show.
Yeah, I think it was season 2, episode 6. I think there's a sequence where the guys walk down with like flashlights looking for the girl after she's being hanging upside down. I don't want to give too many spoilers out, but it's in and around that after she's been hanging upside down. But yeah, I was working a tiny bit on Jack Ryan and basically had a bit of downtime. And I had like, for me as a writer, one of the things that I do is I don't sit and stare at a blank page. I don't believe in doing that. I love the blank page, but an idea sometimes comes to me in different ways. So I had an image of a guy stood on a set of stairs in a hat, in a fedora hat. Like if you can you pull up the poster quickly?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
If you pull up the poster behind
I
her,
see him. I see him in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, the man in the hat.
Yeah.
So this is inspired on shadow figures and Hat Man phenomena. This is an actual real life phenomenon. Like you can Google it and search for it. Now, I had this image in my mind of this guy stood at the top of some stairs, and I didn't know why I was getting this idea like of this guy stood there, and I was like, something's happening. Let me wait for it. Flow state's going to kick in, and then I'll start writing. And then all of a sudden, while I was out there, I just had a little bit of an idea, and it slowly segued into a snowball. Where I was like, I said to my producing partner, who's also my partner, Chloe, I said, you know what? I said, we've got this feature script where it's a film I want to make. The film's called Facility 7. It's a bit like Aliens meets 28 Days Later. It's a bit like in that space.
Yeah.
And I was like, the budget that we're going to need to make that film believable and work, I'm going to face the music. I'm not going to get anybody give me that budget. Not having any movies, not having any real skin in the game. I was like, when I get back from here, I'm going to have a load of money. Well, not load of money, but I'm going to have more money than I would have ever had. Why don't we just go and fucking shoot a film?
Fuck it.
And that's how The Last Right started. Literally 2018. I started penning it down July, August 2018. By the end of the year, I had a script because I had episodes of sleep paralysis and night terrors and stuff as a child. Some of the material which I drew on was actually my own personal experience.
Oh, wow.
So there was essences I could put in there that didn't really feel a million miles away from home.
Right.
So I did that, did the research on demonic possession, 3 stages of demonic possession, all of that stuff that cooks into that.
Yeah.
And then was like, I'm going to tell this story really simply. I'm not going to make it more than it needs to be in terms of trying to make it something because we just wouldn't have the budget for that. Just tell the story the way that I believe it should just be told. So that's what I did. And it was, in a way, it was my film school. It was also a really big learning curve in terms of like, don't doubt yourself when you do something, because sometimes that doubt sometimes is a bit of a good signal to just push through the doubt and keep on fucking going. Because we had like, what was the budget? I think we had like £27,000 for that. Like, you know, just it was our own invested money.
Right.
I think that's probably around about $40,000, maybe a bit less. And you know, we didn't have nothing. We just had 3 crew pretty much to do it. 37 day shoot, and we did it, and we got it on Hulu. Now, we never intended for it to go as far as it did on a platform like Hulu, but this is the thing.
Congrats,
Sometimes,
man.
thank you, man.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Fortune favors the brave, mate. You just got to go for it, whatever
Just do
it
it.
is.
Just do it.
Just fucking
That's
do it.
right. That's right. Kevin's asking here, is it available to watch in the UK somewhere? Do you guys not have Hulu out there?
No, not in the UK. It's
Oh.
on Freevee. If you go to Amazon, you
Oh,
type it in.
there
It's
you
on
go.
that. And I think
Nice.
it's actually
Nice.
free on there. Yeah, I'm sure it's free on there.
Yeah, nice. Well, let's take a look at the trailer for everybody watching of The Last Rite. Let's
I just feel like sometimes I'm not alone in the house. I'm really scared.
My name is Father William Roberts. I believe I was speaking with your partner earlier on today.
This is going to be good for us.
Sure it will. Seems like you're not the only one that's seen this.
You have seen the entity. My guess is it's attached itself to you already.
Do you feel a presence with us now?
Since the other night, it's never left.
Where is it?
Everywhere.
Listen to yourself. You sound nuts.
I feel like I'm falling apart. And I don't know what to do.
Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle and protect us against the wickedness and tyranny of the devil.
Lucy?
No matter what anyone says, don't let him in.
Burn in the eternal flames of hell.
Resist the dark spirit.
Yeah. I gotta watch that, man. I gotta watch that. Yeah, it's right up my alley. Yeah, man. Looks good. Looks good, man.
Thank
Yeah.
you, mate. Thank you. It's quite weird seeing that. Actually, I haven't watched that for probably about a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Bringing back some memories, man.
Bringing it back. Good memories. Yeah. Unlike the Gladiator movie. Did I make it for the Gladiator movie?
Oh, mate. I thought you was doing the impression of Rob Van Dam when you was doing that.
I do that too. Yeah. I get that from Rob. But yeah, this looks great, man. Yeah. So if you guys are curious and interested, check it out on Freevee or Hulu over here. But yeah, looks great, man. And whether you believe in this stuff or not, I'm sure someone at some point has experienced something odd, weird, and something you can't explain. And I've experienced a few of those in my lifetime where I was just like, wait a minute, what the hell was that? Like, I'll tell you one quick story and then we'll move on. I'm at my job, former job, typing at the cubicle. I worked the graveyard shift. HR's not there. Nobody else is there. There's other cubicles there. There's like 6 other cubicles. Nobody else is there but me. Okay. I heard on the cubicle right behind me, I heard it's like somebody sat in the chair and the chair moved. This is what I'm hearing behind me. And somebody was typing the keyboard. I was like, what the hell? And I got up and walked right behind me and there was nobody there. Computer was turned off. No one was there. So I'm just saying, whether you believe it or not, in the paranormal, sometimes there's things you just can't explain. I wouldn't dismiss all possibilities, is all I'm saying. So, but yeah, Last Rite looks good, man.
Yeah, thank you, mate. Thank you. Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right on what you're saying, though. Like, people do have experiences that they can't always explain, and it's only usually when you open up about it, you start realizing that people are more open to talking about it and more susceptible to stuff than they realize. But a lot, the problem is like people fear being vilified or being ostracized for being a bit different.
Yeah.
And you know, this is a very interesting subject. So please, like, if you need to move on, I won't open a can of worms a bit. But yeah,
Go
like,
ahead and talk.
because as I said, I did a lot of research on this stuff, real life cases. The film that was not inspired. One of the films that inspired me was Exorcism of Emily Rose. That was a movie that I was quite inspired by. But what inspired me more was actually the story behind that.
Okay.
You know, there was a real life case about, you know, a girl called Annalise Michel who had these entities in her.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at demonic possession and the stages of demonic possession, it borderlines really close to certain mental illnesses. And that line between, is it mental illness or is it something else? It's really easy to again cast something away because it's a bit different. It's like, no, you're mental, whatever. But then what if that person is having an episode of an experience of something and they don't know how to articulate it, but they sound crazy when they do? And I think that for me is really where I start to look at like this aspect of it. If the Vatican have a university specifically for deliverance ministry and stuff which is around demonic possession and demonology, then there might be some truth in it somewhere. Like, if I'm not saying that that's anything to go by, but if you go through the ages of time and you study, like, you know, like Egyptians brought about the Ouija board. Now, you know, they were into nefarious different things and stars and all that, but you've got to think, if we're all energy and you think about science, you know, science and theology practice really the same thing. You know, we're energy can either be created or destroyed, right? So if we come from that matter scientifically, then when we shift form out of this physical body, where does the energy go? Like, the energy must move into a different form, right? So it's really similar when you have to start looking at like paranormal activities, because when you start going down this road and you start looking at like aspects of intrusive thoughts as being a thing, like, you know, like all of a sudden getting random thoughts which can be quite dark and malicious, you know, like, yeah, they could be little problems you might be having to deal with it within oneself, but also you just don't know. You don't know if you've been exposed to something where you could have an attachment of some sort to you.
Right.
That's why, for me, this subject, you know, I'm trying to skim over bits, so I'm not going into high levels of detail for your audience, because, you know, I don't want to go too deep on it. But like, when you start digging deeper into the material, this was one of the things about The Last Rite that I really wanted to make sure that I had down solidly within it.
Gotcha.
Is talking about the jump scare Hollywood style of storytelling. It was like, is this person actually suffering from a form of illness of some sort, or is there a little bit more to it?
Yeah.
So I used dream states in it as well, like dream states, levels of dreams. I think that's something that some people, when they have attachments, can go into, levels of dreams, like a dream within a dream type of scenario. You know, because that stuff's just like, when you start looking into that, it's quite interesting. So I like to put that a little bit in the material as well.
Yeah. Wow. That's some heavy stuff, man. That's a whole other podcast episode. We'll have to revisit that. But yeah, if you guys watching The Last Rite, don't forget it's on Freevee and Hulu. Check it out. But now it is time. It is time. We had fun with the horror genre. Now it's time for that action with a little bit of sci-fi spice on it. We're going to throw the sci-fi spice on that action, baby. Let's check out the trailer for The Ascendants, baby.
Well, your spirit is strong, but your body is weak. Deep within is power.
You don't scare me.
Go!
I got them.
You don't have to do this.
Let's have a little fun.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, ho, what? This short film scratched the action sci-fi itch, baby. Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it, man. Really loved it. And going back to what you were talking about with Gangs of London and that kind of action fight choreography or action design, for you being on the show, I had a chance to interview action director Jude Poyer. I had him on the show, and the way you like how you described your action and how you like to see your action and fight choreography and how you want the fight choreography to feel is pretty similar to how he describes his version of fight choreography.
Oh,
It's very similar. It's very similar, and I really enjoyed Ascendants. You got Brandon here saying so badass. Oh yeah, he enjoyed what he liked there. Yeah, man.
Right.
And right now, guys, click on the link in the description box below of this video. You can watch the short film Ascendants for free. Check it out, or you can show some support and rent it for $1 on Amazon Prime. But brother, I say this to many filmmakers that I have, not all of them, but the ones that I've had on the show, the ones that I've really connected with, and from what they have created, whether it's a movie or a short. And every time I say this, what I'm about to tell you, it's it's a good thing. Okay. After I got done watching this, I was like, no, God damn it, I want to see more. Brother, I hope this leads to, again, congratulations on creating this and getting it out there for everybody to watch. But brother, I hope this leads to bigger and better things. And I want a full movie of this or a series. I want more. And when you can do that to the old samurai guy, when you can make me want more, you nailed it, brother. You nailed
Thank
it.
you, mate.
Yeah. So
Thank you,
how
man.
did this project come about?
That project come about at the end of 2021. There was a guy that I've been seeing on social media. I've had loose connections with, just through being connected on socials, and I reached out to him and was like, look, dude, I really want to shoot a project, but I really want you in it. Like, I just really would like to just shoot a project. I have no idea what I'm going to do or whatever. It's got to be an action sequence. I'm not acting in it. I want to shoot it, write it, do all that. And he's like, yeah, cool. We'll collaborate on it. Anyway, he introduced me to his partner. His partner was also Gidri and Alex. They're amazing people. They have hybrid FMA Academy in London, like fucking amazing guys, Filipino martial artists, stellar. Now, I didn't envision it being how it was in the end, because in the start, it was just going to be a scene, right? It was just going to be a scene. Anyway,
Yeah.
Me being me, when I get the juice flowing, I start writing and I start going, oh, mate, this world's a bit like this. I was like, well, if it's going to be a world, you may as well really build the world. So what is in this world? Who is in it? Who's the nefarious villain who is trying to escape? What's going on? But also within the context of it, I wanted to make it interesting. So like, there's almost like this, I don't want to say there's a rule when I work on stuff, but I like to write little unwritten rules that follow the story through, and it just helps guide little things. And one of them was, I don't want any action for the sake of action. So it meant that I had to figure out a way of putting characters in an interesting space in the woods. There was no like budget or anything for it, but I was like, how can I make it interesting? What's the journey? What's at stake? And I started diving into it and thinking, well, these characters are more than human in this world, right? The ones with
Yeah.
collars on.
Mhm.
But it's like, we don't answer that straight away. Why are they wearing collars? What
Yeah.
do the collars mean and what do they do? Oh, they do shit to them. So what are they doing or what are they suppressing? But you'll learn different things as the story grows, that there's things that adapt as the story goes on. So how it starts and how it turns dark side at the end is almost like, I don't want it to feel almost like, are they actually bad? But I almost want you to think like, if you twist the coin a little bit, they could be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So obviously, I don't want to give too much away for your audience to be able to go and watch it. But for me, that project was one that I really love sci-fi. I really love action, and I really love the horror genre. But with that, I wanted to engage sort of a level of violence where it's just like they fight because there's no options left. But when they fight, they're vicious.
Yeah.
You go to stroke the friendly cat and it rips your arm off. It's a bit like that. It's one of them ones. So for me, it was a fun project and one where I do have a bit of a world around it. There's a whole setting. It's a bit like if you imagine X-Men style meets Arrival. It's in that sort of setting.
All right.
Makeshift. It's very
Yeah.
It's to feel very like though probably Code 8 is probably a better comparison. A film called Code 8 with Arrival. It's a bit like that.
Okay.
Now, weirdly though, like after this project, I started writing something else, and this is the main project we're going forwards with. It's a bit like End of Days meets The Crow, the next project I'm working on.
Sold.
Yeah, that's the one we're going full bore with. But each thing that I do, like Ascendants, is a huge like stepping stone in terms of how I see action, because it was the first piece of action that I had thrown down with in terms of like doing the design of the action and obviously shooting it and stuff. Because I don't know, there's a certain type of action that I like the energy. I like to feel the energy of the movement, right? So it's not just about seeing a beautifully stabilized, perfectly in-framed shot. Sometimes it should feel a bit rocky and it should take you out, but not to the extreme though.
Right.
Like there are extremes.
Yes.
Like I've seen extremes and it's like you can't tell where you are.
Exactly.
That's not good either. But it's just, if it serves a story, then it's good. But for me, it's like, can I make fewer moves as possible count, but make you feel like that was a fight?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's important.
Yeah. But before we take a look at the trailer again, you can continue giving us some BTS. I can do the shout outs. I'm gonna show the photo. Leroy, you give the shout out to the actor. All right, here we go. Up first. Boom.
Yep. Jidri, amazing talent.
She's so good, man. She is so good.
There's a certain, like when I work with actors and people in any sort of capacity, how I see my job as a director is not one. I don't want to tell people anything to do. It's not about telling people to do. It's enhancing what I see that they maybe don't, and seeing into them.
Yeah.
Her and Alex, which is our partner, Omar Alexander, they both have this like innocent ability about them where they don't realize their talent and potential.
Okay.
But when I see that in people, I love bringing it out.
Right.
And one of the things that we was able to create in that setting of Ascendants was bringing to life these characters that they both fell in love with as well, in terms of their performances and stuff. And there was a certain ferocity and like viciousness that Jidri was able to bring out, that was just like she hadn't seen. I hadn't seen that in any of her work before, and I was like, you have just done something there. Like whatever that is, you keep doing that. Because I love that, man. Like
Yeah.
it's where the discovery of the creativity is, just
Yeah.
leaving it all on the floor. Like if there's another take that we need to do, let's do another take. Fuck it. We got the time, let's fucking roll. If you're
Yeah.
happy, I'm happy. But I know
Yeah.
I'm happy with that shot. So if you want to play, let's play. Like, and that there was a really good like synergy with all the actors, not just those two. Like everybody really threw down on that. And I can't thank them all enough for helping
yeah.
bring it to life.
Yeah, she's so good. Next up, boom.
Well, Mr. Max Cavanagh, brother. Yeah, amazing, talented actor. Worked with him actually on Max Payne Retribution. The first time I got to meet Max was on that.
Yeah.
And here we are collaborating again a few years later, and it was really good.
Yeah.
He brought the villain to life.
Max, you killed it, brother. And this guy right here, man, this is another legend, man. This is a bad man right here.
Bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
Alex, Omar, he is a very talented Filipino martial artist, mate. Like
he had a really good fight in Exile of the Chosen Ones. He had a great fight in that, man. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. I'll do this last shout out. AJ, what's up, brother? Hey, man, you killed it. This guy is a phenomenal martial artist and a performer, man. I've had him on the show a couple times. So,
he's a legend.
Shout out to AJ.
He's a legend. He is. Yeah. He's a good guy.
But yeah, anybody else I missed? You all killed it. all of you are amazing.
I want to give a shout out to Jonathan.
Come on the show. All of you. Let's go.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Jonathan. Jonathan is our like go-to guy. He's the man with the boomstick. He's been our go-to for the last right and all of our projects. Like he's a legend. So couldn't have done it without you, brother.
Yeah, shout out to Jonathan. But yeah, let's take a look at it again really quick here. Let's have some more fun here. And how long did it take to film the short?
Shot over 4 days.
Oh wow.
Three main days of filming and a couple of inserty stuff.
Yeah.
For the fourth day, so pretty simple.
Nice.
Pretty simple setup.
But yeah, there he is. There's AJ.
Boom.
So good.
Bringing
He's talented. He's talented too. This gentleman right here.
Everybody that everyone like I cannot fault anybody. Eloise, another talented actress.
Oh yeah. Really good. But yeah, man, I was dying. I was like, oh, we got to see a part 2, a sequel or something, like I just, hopefully, we got to see more.
The world itself is loosely penciled down. I've just got to get into the space to write it, to be fair.
Gotcha.
But there's definitely a world that's ready to be created around that.
Oh, love it. But yeah, visceral fighting, man. Really good action. And you did the VFX as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So all the VFX, all of the sound design, all of the editing, the grading, the whole shebang.
That's amazing.
But mate, I'm a storyteller. I don't see one thing as a separate thing. It's all part of the same thing. Like, if I have to pick up a camera, like for me, a camera is a storytelling tool. The sound design is a storytelling tool. The actors are the brushes which I paint on the canvas with. It's like everybody's like super involved in this process, but it's all one process though. In the end, we're all telling a story.
Yeah.
All of us are telling a story.
But yeah, just the action is so intense. Really good, man. I was really impressed.
Thank you.
Like ground and pound. Look at it. She's throwing down. Look at that. Look at it. The knee attack, the jumping knee attack got me. I was like, yeah, right there, man. That was great. Oh, so good. But yeah, I love the fact that you brought that up. Are they really the protagonists or are they the antagonists? That was interesting. Like, are they bad guys or good guys? I like how you never really answered that question. I like that, man.
Well,
yeah.
It's doing that Tarantino thing, isn't it? Like when they're in the calf, Samuel Jackson, John Travolta, they open the case. What's in the case? Like we want to know what's in the case. No one knows what's in the case.
Yeah.
It's up to us to build that picture.
The MacGuffin.
It's a bit like that, really, not really
Yeah.
giving the full answer to it,
Yeah.
you know. So they could be bad, or they
Yeah.
could be good.
It could be, yeah. Who knows if you ever come back and revisit the story, you already have the world planned out. Let's see which way you go, brother. We'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. But brother, this was amazing. A huge honor to have you here. I could talk to you all day, man, but I know this man
Thank you,
at
brother.
some point has to get some sleep. He says he's nocturnal, but he's got to get some sleep.
Yeah, I've got probably about another 2 hours in me. Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
having another coffee, I think, in a minute after
There
this.
you go. There you go. There you go. And doing some more writing some more amazing stories, man. But hey, this is your second home, brother. Second home, man. Come
Much
back at
appreciated, man.
anytime, man. Anytime. And everybody watching right now, hey, don't forget to check out The Last Rite, which is on Hulu. That's right. And Freevee. And of course, again, click on the link in the description box below of this video. Or you can just type it up on YouTube. Check out The Ascendants. It is badass, exciting, thrilling. You're going to want to see more. And that's what it's all about. That's what a great short film will do. Hey, man, you're on your way, brother. You're on your way. I got a good feeling.
Thank you, man.
And we support you over here, man. Yeah.
It's good, man. It's moments like this where it's like it's just in reflection. It's nice talking with someone else that understands. You know, there's a process and respects the work. Thank you kindly for that.
Hey, man, we like I said, you do great stuff, and we will be here. We can't wait to see what's next. Before we wrap it up for today, Leroy, anything you'd like to say to your followers?
I would just like to say thank you to everybody for tuning in. Literally, without any support from you guys, people just reaching out and watching stuff like this, you know, it's not possible to tell these stories that I like to tell. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you kindly. And yeah, let's make some more kick-ass movies.
That's what it's all about, baby. That's right. Hey, if you enjoyed yourself here, if you're new, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the old samurai guy. Leroy, don't go anywhere. But all you badasses, I'll see you guys again this Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Going to be interviewing another badass legend. That's what this channel is all about. Celebrating action, martial arts, horror, and just like with Ascendants, some of that little bit of that sci-fi spice on it. We like that sci-fi here too.
Sci-fi spice. I like
Yeah,
that.
you like that?
The spice. You need to do the Salt Bay bit in it like that.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.